There's a sequence of events. It starts, our primary role from an administration standpoint as mayor is to provide, with council of course, is to set the relative balance among how various departments are funded. Essentially, in broad perspective, we set the budget, and it's up to our experts within each of those departments to determine the best way, most efficient way to spend those dollars. I mean, we monitor that, of course, but on the whole, it's their expertise that we rely heavily on, particularly in police and fire. We set that budget within the fire department for this year based on competing desires in police and every other department for funds, all of which have been reduced over the years. Fire has not. Because fire, compared to all the other departments, in every other department, when you have people calling sick or you have a few less employees, you essentially make do with the people that are there that given day. Within fire, recognizing that it takes minimum numbers of firefighters to do a particular task, particularly in this case, to keep stations open, to keep those stations open, we've had to set the minimum staffing, it's in this case 17, and we've had to call in people on overtime every time. Again, in any other department, whatever standard you're setting and you have a few less people show up, you just do your best with a few less people. So over numerous years here, we've made these cuts in these other departments, have not in the fire. And it's just gotten to the point we've cut everything to its bare minimum so far everywhere else that there's no place yet to go but within fire. So that's why we're here. Now, more towards your question, so our main instruction to the chief is you've got to meet your budget, and he can't maintain the status quo and meet his budget. So knowing minimum staffing is the primary, almost the only way to adjust to fall within or out of the budget. Our thought from our perspective was that 15 minimum staffing, they could keep 4 stations open. And we challenged him to come up with a game plan for that. And it was his opinion, with his leadership in the department, that anything less than 17, they would be more effective just to close the number 2 station. Given how close 2 and 1 are, Kipling and Broad, how close they are, it makes more sense in his judgment to close one of them and have more people at each of the other 3.
The scene are down at the fire station number 2, and they were told to remove the station closed signs as a director from your office.
From me, yes.
And so what is the status of that station then?
Well, number one, we schedule 21 and usually 22 people to work on any given day. There's 3 shifts, one has 21, the other 2 have 22. So there's 21 or 22 scheduled to work each day. There's always one or several that have a scheduled day off for holiday time. There's usually then there's someone that calls in sick often, and just the odds are. And when that number from 21 dips down to, say, there's 4 people off, we're down to 17, everything's fine. If that 5th one's off, we're down to 16, we close the station now, or before we call in one for overtime. So now, out of the 21, let's pick the lower number, if 4 people are off, only 4, then that station will be open. So it's, even last time, the 10-month period that it was closed before, so to speak, 60% of the time it was closed, 40% of the time it was open.
Right.
So it's not like it was flat out closed, it was a day-to-day event. So that's the same now. If we have 17 show up for work, it'll be open. So to say it's closed is not accurate, number one, on that count, because it may be open tomorrow. If open's the right word. But the other part of it is it's not necessarily appropriate to announce a building's closed or not. To put a sign out to say, in the case of an emergency, call 911. People in the United States are well accustomed to the fact if they have an emergency, they don't knock on the door of the fire station, they call 911. So that's, I think, a redundant statement to make on that point. And the final point is the station isn't closed. The fire chief operates out of there, Fire Prevention Bureau, and the secretarial staff of the department works out of that building. They're open Monday through Friday, minimum, during business hours. So the building is open and operating. We may not be dispatching a fire engine on a given moment out of there, but the building is open, and to the extent it's not appropriate to put a sign out.